It's the live now.
Welcome everyone to Friday Night Monk Chat. And this is Aya Sivijana speaking with Bhante Mitiko, both the empty cloud, holding down the fort while the abbot and abbess are away.
Yes.
So they'll be coming back July 3rd. So you may be seeing them shortly after that time. But now we're here with a couple of lay guests, and the cat is roaming about. I don't see any hellos yet, which may mean people are on YouTube or something. But we have two people here live in the audience. Hello from Maine by Kim Gordon. Yes, and there's more hellos. Delta V. Do you have a question here in the live audience? Yeah, here, President Empty Clouds. Do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Yeah.
Dhamma. I was wondering why it takes 7 rebirths in stream entry. Why the number 7?
Oh, I'm not sure. She's asking about the number 7. 7. It wouldn't take. Actually, so you wouldn't take a 7th rebirth. How does that work exactly? It's like. So with stream entry, you wouldn't, you'd not anymore. And it's just according to the teaching. I'm not sure why that is, but you're guaranteed that you wouldn't be born in a lower realm, anything lower than a human. You're guaranteed at least human birth, if not birth in a celestial realm. And it would take you 7 or less lifetimes. I guess it's including the very life, right? So there wouldn't be actually 7th rebirth. I think that's my understanding of it. You can correct me if that's. But I'm not sure why the number 7, other than there's still work to do. But in the Buddha explains that we've had so many rebirths, innumerable births, and he talks about one time he's out walking with the monks, and he says, "See that great mountain? It's like Muru, or I don't know, it's Sinaru or something. There's a king of mountains, and see how big that mountain is." And he said, if you just imagine the pile of bones that you left behind from the numerous rebirths of different types, animal, human, and that would be greater than that mountain. So when you look at 7 more lifetimes, it's minute in comparison. There's a sutta. He says he takes 3 pebbles the size of mung beans, and he says, "What's greater, these 7 mung beans or the mountain, the king of mountains?" Is it Sinaru or something? I don't remember right now. And so, of course, the monks say, "Oh, well, of course, a great mountain is more vast. It's great, the 7 pebbles are trifling in comparison." And he said, "Well, that's the comparison of the 7 more rebirths." So you're that, and Simmeru, he says, I think it's with an I. Well, anyway, Philip is said what the name of the mountain is. Simmeru. I think it may be. Anyway. Good morning, various people. Yankee Apple. There's a lot of people coming in.
Yeah.
And there's a question here.
Yeah. And I don't know
so
if
so do you feel complete with that answer? It says,
Yes.
I don't know why the numbers, but this is what the Lord Buddha teaches.
yeah, I wouldn't worry necessarily about the number per se. And as I was saying, we've lived a lot of lifetimes. The number itself, I think what's more important is the Buddha's pointing to when we obtain stream entry. As Bhante J likes to say, it's a money back guarantee. Like, that's it, Only 7 more. In comparison to, I has talked about, the Buddha gives those similes. So what's greater? All these bones, this mountain of bones, it's the tears that we've shed. And so what's more important is that is all that's left. We're like, it's like we're almost there. We're so close. And steam entry, it's a guarantee. We're not coming back, There's only 7 more. Yeah.
So also, yeah, so the amount of suffering also is what he talks about. And then we have one more question in the live audience here, and then we can go to, I see a question here, that we'll go to that question.
So since there is 7 rebirth left, since there's 31 planes, and I think you mentioned earlier that it won't be in the lower realms, would all of the 7 rebirth be in the human realm, or would it be in different?
Not necessarily. And you're not necessarily having to go through 7. That's the very most after stream entry. And then I think by 7 you won't take an 8th or you won't take a 7th. This is what I'm puzzling about right now.
I can't remember the details. I've always thought as after 7 would be your last one.
Yeah. So
you wouldn't take an 8th.
You wouldn't take an 8th. I think that's what it is. So, but
I think the most important thing is like you're almost there. You're almost at the finish line.
Yeah, and it could be in the higher realms. But likely if you're in the higher realms, then at that point you're a non-returner.
Right.
So you don't necessarily have to, you can accomplish in a lifetime a lot of work, and then you may even become an arhat sooner than that.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be 7. It's not like 7 isn't mandatory.
Right.
So there's a question here. It's already, it says, my breath tends to get shallow when I get peaceful, which seems wrong. What do you advise? I would suggest that that's a good sign, actually. If your breath is getting lighter, you're becoming more relaxed. Your need for deep breathing. So if you look at the Anapanasati Sutta, they say, it says they know that when the breath, they're taking an in-breath, a long breath, breathing in long, breathing out long, and then it's breathing in short, breathing out short. So what's happening is when you first start sitting down and calming down a little bit, you'll be taking more air in naturally because you've been active, and so both your body and your mind is settling down. And as you get more calm, then your need for oxygen decreases, and your breathing becomes just become a little more shallow, or you might not be noticing the breath becomes more what's called subtle. And sometimes it becomes subtle, that so subtle you might not even realize you're breathing. And this becomes very frightening to people. So it may be you're feeling a little bit of fear coming up, and that the breath is becoming lighter. So I wouldn't, especially you're saying you get more peaceful, and I wouldn't think of it as wrong. I would just say, I'm aware that the breath is now lighter, or this is the short breath. Do something that, just kind of encourage yourself to be more at ease with that. It may take a while. I remember the first time when I felt like my breath had stopped. I thought I had stopped breathing. I got really frightened. And it was just that I was very calm. I said to the teacher, I felt like my breath had stopped. And he said, "Oh, that's calm." and then I was a little bit afraid to sit down on the cushion again, because I thought I was going to stop breathing. It was a frightening experience. But actually, my breath had become so soft, it was hard to discern it. And because this is a natural process that happens, so feeling like it's wrong or feeling frightened of it or something will stop you from, you may end up ceasing the meditation or something, and that would be, I'm not going to call it wrong, but it's preventing you from becoming even more peaceful. So it's part of the process. So just learning to be at ease with it, not telling yourself it's wrong. And then if it's too difficult for you to stay seated, or you need to move or whatever, just note in your mind after you've moved and say, okay, I see that I'm still not at ease with this, but it's not wrong. I don't tell yourself it's wrong. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, not really. I think the most important thing, as you said, is as we become, as a mind settles, sometimes the breath does become more refined, and it can be frightening. But you just watch your mind. The most important thing is, are you generating wholesome states? And if fear or something arises in the mind, just watch it, because it'll rise and fall.
Yeah, you can
just stay with your meditation object. Don't follow those kind of thoughts of like good, bad. You just see it arise and fall.
Yeah, and I learned also, when it felt like the breath had stopped, I just had to really pay close attention. And then it was just, there was a long pause between breaths. The breath was getting very light. So you just have to really keep up with the mindfulness, and just it's a good sign rather than a bad sign. Okay, so she's thanking us for that.
Yes, and
I'm going to go. There's somebody up.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. So just
someone is saying that 7 is a spiritual number in many practices, but yeah, I don't know that the Lord Buddha has any that significance, but I've never heard that. It's just that it's yeah, you're getting close to the finish line. And then I have a question related to the question of the breath. I'm going to answer this one. Is that a sign one is nearing jhana? Well, it's a sign that the mind is calming down. When the breath is light, and you're not necessarily going to enter jhana, but the mind is becoming more peaceful and settled, and yeah, it's not necessarily a sign, but it's a good sign. It's a sign of peacefulness. And you might say that you might call it samatha, which would be that there's a calm mental state. And it could be preceding jhana eventually. But also in the Anapanasati Sutta, there's this is actually quite early in that process. So, and calming the body and then calming the mind. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this is everybody's opportunity to ask any questions they have about Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And it's really based on your questions. And so we'll see if there's more questions. We'll keep going. We go as long as there's questions. And if there's no questions, then we go to bed early.
I think that Wagons had a question. Did you have another question?
It was just related to, because I find myself going from back and forth with Buddhism and Hinduism, because I was studying with them at the same time. And I was wondering if can you just give me an explanation, like the difference between the two?
Honestly, I've never studied Hinduism,
Okay.
and it'd be remiss of me to speak in detail about the differences between them. I will say there's difficulty sometimes when one tries to compare or look at similarities between other religions and say, oh, I'll take this part and I'll take this part. And I'm not saying you're doing that. I think it's good. You're kind of like, okay, this is the path that I'm following to get the true depth in the fullness of it. That's my 2 cents, and I can't speak of, I'm not very familiar with the Hindu religion at all. I don't know if
The only thing I could say is they do believe in the Atman, which is the sometimes translated as self or soul, and then the Brahma, and the kind of the goal is to be united with Brahma eventually. And so they do believe in rounds of rebirth and all that, and certain types of purification. But I think that's probably the biggest difference, is that the Lord Buddha he talks about non-self. Yeah, as opposed to it's atta, and is the Pali for Atman, and anatta is not non-self or non-Atman. So but he's really specific about what's not self, and it would take a lot to really describe how the differences between this belief in a self and non-self.
And the reason so that's one of the next questions, is you can see, there's a question about non-self.
Okay, so Philip was wanting to continue talking about the breath. Let's see.
He was giving me.
I'm thinking of a particular instance where I believe I was going into access concentration, and like he described, I was startled by how slow my breath was. Well, it could be access concentration. That's possible. And this would also take quite a bit of yeah, this is something that would be very difficult for me to talk about right now. You could look at, there's a book, an excellent book by Ajahn Brahm that will describe you stages leading into jhana. And it's good to work with a teacher when you're going further than access concentration. But if yeah, the thing is that the mind is really calm and peaceful, and you're experiencing what seems like the breath disappearing. It's just a very, very, very subtle breath. And to be at ease with that is good. But you'll be feeling different things like joy, lots of, but the body will be very tranquil, and you'll feel a lot of joy in the body. And this could be, that's a good sign too. So that's all I can say right now. So there's another.
Yeah, if you scroll down.
Scroll down. Can you scroll it for me?
Yes. Excuse me. Kind of. We have a very.
Can we talk about the concept of non-self?
So.
Do you want to?
Another hour.
Yeah, these are big questions.
It is a big question. It's a good question because it's a fundamental part of Buddhism, and it's important, and it's a very deep concept. And that's why I was going to laugh and say, no, in another hour. I don't even think an hour you could scratch the surface of.
We could.
It's so deep. It's such a deep concept, and to truly know it is to know it within your heart. I mean, it's. I remember listening to a Dhamma talk from a monastic. He was saying the whole practice, everything we do. This is a monk talking about everything we do is so we can even approach the idea of non-self. And so, I don't know what you want to speak about it, but I will say, interestingly, I think this week I saw an article, a science article that was talking about science doing research and discovering there's no self, which I thought was interesting. The Buddha was talking about it over 2,000 years ago, and now science is coming out and like, I don't think there's a self. So I don't know if you want to speak more. That's not really addressing it. So
a lot of the teaching, the Lord Buddha talks, some of the basic teaching, like in the morning chanting, we talk about the 5 aggregates, and this is one way to start understanding non-self and seeing the body as not self. So if you think of the body as mine, this says that is the body really mine? If I could say about my body, let my body be this way, may my body not be this way, may I not get old, may I be strong, may I be always healthy, like, do I have really control over the body? So you start looking at is it really mine? Where did it come from? Where will it go? It's just, you start seeing it as understanding it's composed of elements. I always need water, something every day. I have to put food and water to care for this body. It's always changing, and there's always something. And then is it is it permanent? Is it suffering or non-suffering? So you start looking at the three characteristics in terms of the body, in terms of the three characteristics, and so the Buddha asks, so is the body self? And then you start understanding non-self in terms of the body, and then you start feelings, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness. You look at all of these in terms of the three characteristics, and at least you can start getting intellectual understanding of these five khandhas. Can we really? They're always changing. They're suffering, and so can they really be self? And then so the Lord Buddha says that we should look at them with proper wisdom. This is not mine. I am not it. This is not myself. So if this is the beginning, kind of at least an intellectual understanding of non-self, and it's often in terms of the five khandhas: internally, externally, past, present, and future. So that's the nutshell of it, of the teaching on non-self.
That was excellent, John. Like
Non-self in a nutshell.
you can be in a nutshell.
Let's see, did we got to another one somehow?
No, it was if we don't answer.
So you changed it?
No, I didn't change it.
Somehow it changed. See, this is computer is not mine. I am not it. It is not myself. It's out of my control. Okay. So it says, dear venerables, with regards to unwholesome tendencies that arise due to previous vipaka. So that's a fruition. Vipaka is a fruition of karma. Vipaka karma. Past experiences. Should one just patiently endure it, since it eventually will go away on its own? Unwholesome tendencies that are right. So you don't want to reinforce. There's something that happened. There's a fruition, I guess. I'm not really a fruition of a past experience. It's not just past experiences. Vipaka would be fruition. So if the whole unwholesome tendencies, okay, so there's the fruition of something that happened in the past. So I was dishonest to my friend, and my friend found out about it. I'm just making this up. This is a scenario, okay? So then my friend is angry at me, right? For my dishonesty. So this is the fruition. They find out that I did something dishonest and they're angry. So that's the fruition of a past direct karma. This is direct vipaka. So then I get angry in return. That's an unwholesome tendency that's arising in me. Or I continue my dishonesty by saying, no, you got it wrong. That really, I really didn't do that. Somebody else must have done that. So that would be the unwholesome tendency arising in response to vipaka, the fruition of something that I did in the past. So I think we don't just patiently endure unwholesome tendencies.
Unwholesome tendencies of mind.
If it's an unwholesome tendency of mind, we notice. I I would notice the anger arising, or I would notice the tendency to want to continue to lie, to be dishonest. And so I would say to myself, okay, I did something wrong, and then it's come to light, and then my friend is angry. So I need to, instead of getting angry or trying to defend myself, I need to say, yes, I made this mistake.
Right.
I'm sorry, please forgive me. And if they don't forgive me and they continue to be angry at me and I lose my friendship, this is vipaka. And then I say to myself, okay, this is the results of my unwholesome behavior. And I'm making a resolve to be honest from now on, because I can see the harm it's caused to my friend. I lost my friendship. And so we're not just patiently seeing our unwholesome tendencies and they won't just go away by themselves. We have to say, okay, this is an unwholesome tendency, and how do I diffuse it? How do I abandon it?
Right.
How do I keep it from coming up again?
Yeah, I would say, this is an excellent question. It's really what you're asking is part of right effort. And part of right effort is, and also as you talked about today, when we have unwholesome states of mind, the mistake, and I've heard this from people, oh, I'm angry. And the Buddha thought, just watch it. And I'm not saying you're doing that. I know you, and I know you wouldn't do that. The most important thing when an unwholesome state arises that we want to, as I was talking about, we want to replace with a wholesome state. We don't just let it stay with us. It's just like anger arises. We don't stay angry and keep it in our mind like, oh, it's going to go away. We want to replace that unwholesome state. We want to abandon that wholesome state and cultivate those wholesome states of mind and do all those things. I know you practice metta a great deal, which is a beautiful thing, and it brightens the mind. And so practicing metta, maintaining those wholesome states and the conditions that produce wholesome states. And when maybe previous karma, past action, whatever may arise in our mind that produces unwholesome states, we produce the conditions that result in a wholesome state of mind.
Okay, should we go to the next one? Okay. Where is it? Where to go?
Click on it again.
Okay.
There we go.
Dear Venerables, would you please offer your guidance on how to maintain the middle path in everyday decision making? How does one become more disciplined with this? Well, middle path, the Lord Buddha talks about avoiding extremes. So in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, he talks about how people are overindulgent, and then they also torment themselves. So middle path would be moderation, right? Everyday decision making. So if I, let's say I'm in a store and I want to purchase something, and then I think, do I really need this? Let's just say shoes. Let's see some shoes on the shelf. And then I say, oh, I really like those shoes. I'd like to buy them. And then I think, oh, okay, I have 6 pairs in my closet, and I don't, but well, let's say I did.
I'm glad you said you did.
So do I really need this? Would this really be helpful to me? Or would it be a problem? I'm racking up my credit card. This would be indulgence. Let's say my shoes are falling apart. And or they're hurting my feet because they're so worn out. And then I think, no, I shouldn't have new shoes. I don't deserve new shoes. So that would be the other extreme. Middle, there's so many different kinds of decisions. I'm just talking about this kind of overindulgence or denying yourself. It depends. There's some things you would abstain from in the Buddhist path, like you wouldn't do anything that would be harmful to yourself or others. You make the decision by saying, would this be harmful to me, or would this be harmful to someone else? If the answer is yes, then you don't do it. Simple as that. But if this would be a benefit to myself or others, just really consider carefully, then you can go ahead. That's just for not knowing exactly, like an example of what you're really asking. But this is the best I can with the information I have right now. And maybe Bhante
Yes,
has
I would just, as I was talking about the practice, I think the practice of sila, just practicing those moral concepts, as I spoke about, not doing harm to yourself or others, having a basis of morality, having the basis of the precepts, and also understanding the Buddhist teaching. And being in this world is difficult sometimes because people may lie to us, people may try and harm us, but it doesn't mean they did something bad, so I'm going to do something bad back to them. We don't seek revenge. And so just really cultivating the Buddhist teaching, cultivating sila, our morality, those things help guide us in those times of difficult decisions when we reflect. Is this harmful to someone else? Is this harmful to me? Am I stealing? Am I not stealing? Am I speaking in a way that's in accordance with the Buddhist teaching or not? And also sometimes some decisions are just, they're just decisions, they don't carry a weight per se. So I think those are always go back to the basics of sila, and that can help guide us in those difficult times. And the other thing is sometimes we make mistakes, and we do learn from those, and we make the determination not to maybe do those again. But that's the other thing, because we're unenlightened, we will make mistakes. We shouldn't put that pressure to make perfect decisions all the time, because sometimes, we will make decisions that maybe are bad. I don't want to say bad, but you do your best and follow the Buddhist path, and that will take you.
So we'll go to this Bill's question here.
I think it's a follow-up on that idea of non-self.
Is there no self? If there is no self, what is experiencing this life? Well, that's a very good question. So I don't know exactly how to answer that, but there's a convention that we call, I say right now, I could say conventionally now I'm called Aya or Sivijana or, so, and a number of years ago I was called Carol. And so, and then when am I the same person I was 20 years ago, 40 years ago? What is it? And it's a really good question to ask yourself. What is experiencing this? There is this. This is one of those kind of questions that the Buddha never gives a really direct answer to, but he often starts talking about dependent origination, and that there is fruition of karma, that you can't say, oh, well, what experience is karma?
Mm.
There is the experience of karma, of our past actions. So mostly he talks about non-self in terms of the 5 khandhas, and he never talks about what actually is, if there is a self, what it would be. So I'm not going to venture, but there is the experience. We do, there is a. We all know that we have a life experience. So whatever it is, whatever we want to call it, but the attachment to things as permanent is not as pleasurable, in wishing it to be continuously pleasurable, and then calling itself, then this is a mistaken view. And you have
No, I was just going to say that's a beautiful way of talking about a very complex subject. And I would encourage, but I believe, because a very similar question gets asked a lot, Bhante Sudaso, if you search what gets reborn on the Buddhist Insights channel, he gave a whole talk on this subject. And I would encourage you to, really look at that and explore it, because it's a very in-depth subject. And also, it is something to start thinking about intellectually, but as I talked about, to reflect upon what is this, what is happening. And it's something that moves beyond to truly see it and grasp it. And you have to move beyond that intellectual understanding. And it's something that you begin to, through reflection on the Buddhist teachings, reflection through meditation, that one begins to see not intellectually, but see with the heart. And so, good questions. I would encourage you to, because a beautiful way of answering it, but it's a very deep subject, and a subject that I would encourage you to look at much longer talks and discussions of this subject.
And then Philip is saying that we are sankharas, but sankhara is also a khandha. So the upadana khandha of sankhara is not a self either. There are tendencies, there is awareness, but it's always subject to change. So to cling to any of that as a self is a mistake, according to the Buddhist teaching. So thank you, Bhante, for pointing out resources. Yeah, it's a good idea to, and a study of dependent origination is really good way to approach it.
Yes.
If you go to, let's see that, Monte Sujato and Ajahn Brahmali was, I think it was 2021, sometime in 2021 in the fall, they gave a 10-day teaching. It was a retreat, but it was recorded on dependent origination. And that's really excellent too. It addresses a lot of this issue about self, and so they're just marvelous. They're just really remarkable. So I recommend trying to find that. If you look up, let's see, I'm trying to remember where that would be posted, but you could look up dependent origination, Bhante Sujato and Ajahn Brahmali, and see what you find. see if you can find it. I got the link through Discuss and Discover, which is through Bhante Sujato's. So maybe through his Access to, not Access to Insight, to Sutta Central. Sutta Central. There's probably some forums and things like that that will help you find more information. But anyway, and then Bhante Sudaso also.
Yes, he gave a talk on, because a pretty frequent, if there's no self, what gets reborn? It's like a real common question. And so he gave a whole talk on that. And I think Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi also, I think, has a YouTube discussion on dependent origination. There's a lot of resources out there, and I would encourage you to find those. But start Googling. Fire up those search engines.
So then Karuna, the cat cuddler. Okay, when you decided to go forth, how did you decide where, with who, what tradition was best suited for you? What was the most important criteria?
Wow.
So I don't know who you're asking, because
I think it's for both of us.
Metico.
You can answer for yourself.
I'll answer for myself. So,
Like you mentioned, so thinking.
how did you decide? Okay, so I was a Zen student for many years, and then I saw Zen in America, and I had some idea that monasticism would be a good idea, but when I saw how it was manifesting in this country, it wasn't so inspiring to me. And that was kind of a turbulent time too. It was in the 70s, so they were just getting their feet wet in early years, and so it's different now.
Yeah.
But I later I started in my 20s. I was interested in meditation that early, and by the time I was in my 40s, I wasn't so impressed by what I was seeing in the Vipassana, early Vipassana. But then when later I started attending in Santa Cruz. I was living in Santa Cruz, and there was Santa Cruz Vipassana that somebody recommended, and I said, okay, I'll see how it is again. And it was Mary Orr and Bob Stein, I think, or Bob Stahl. There were these teachers, and they were really teaching from the suttas, the Buddha's teaching. And so I was really impressed by that, because I wasn't getting this from the suttas, the teaching in the Zen circles. So I was started to attend those with those teachers, and then I saw this little note, and it said about Bayagiri Monastery, a little slip of paper. So I asked Bob, "Can I go there?" And he's like, "Yeah, go to their website." And so I went, and then I thought I had 4 days. I was working, so I had 4 days to go up, and it was like a 4-hour drive, and I spent I guess maybe 4 nights there, or I don't know. So I remember thinking, how could I do this myself? Somehow I knew that women wouldn't be able to ordain at Abhayagiri Monastery. And I don't know how I knew this already, that there wasn't anything available for women in this
Hmm.
tradition at that time. That was, how many years ago was
You wanna say.
that? um, eh, quite a few years ago. But I ended up moving closer to a Bayagiri monastery, and it was 2005. I really was, there was another woman that's now a bhikkhuni, Aya Santusika, and I were both saying, how can we do this? we want to go for it. We want to ordain. How I decided, I think I was just so impressed by the what I saw at Bayagiri Monastery and the Buddhist teaching, the Theravada teachings. I was, this was kind of an amazing time because Bhante Bodhi had the wisdom publications had put out, I think it was in 96 was the Majjhima Nikaya, it was published. And then in the year 2000, the Samyutta Nikaya was published. So, and then Ajahn Nisaro was also, he was the free distribution book, A Handful of Leaves. So I was starting to read the suttas myself. And, Mr. French, the cat is
We need you here, Karuna, to cuddle the cat.
Yeah, so the cat is wanting some attention. So
Cause
then I decided I would go to Amaravati, and that didn't seem quite right. How did I decide? I met Aya Tataloka, and she was saying that bhikkhuni, she was a bhikkhuni, and then she was hoping to make bhikkhuni ordination available for more women. And I was also impressed by her level of sila, because she was keeping the sila as strict as possible in this country for a fully ordained woman. She was, so it was very, it's difficult to be an alms mendicant in a non-Buddhist country. It's very difficult to keep your sila pure. So I think I just had this sense of urgency. I just felt like I really wanted to devote myself entirely to the practice. And so I had spent 5 months at Amaravati, but I had met Aya Tataloka before that. And then while I was at Amaravati, I thought, what they were offering was Siladhara ordination. And I thought, if full ordination is available, and then the women there, they weren't getting the respect they needed. I could see that. It was a difficult situation, and I'm sorry for those who have a lot of. I mean, they're wonderful. They're doing an amazing job in teaching, and their practice is just really great. But I've really felt like if full ordination is available in my own country, why don't I go for it? And being able to keep a level of sila as possible. High level of sila as possible. Why don't I do it? And also just wanting to immerse myself in the Dhamma. So what tradition was best suited for it? Yeah, so I just, because of the early Buddhist texts, I think that's where, and then also I felt like as close as you can in the modern world, the Theravada tradition is keeping the sila, and preserving the teachings of the Buddha. So that's why the Theravada teachings, for me, they ring true. I think it's really ringing true to the what the Buddha had, and it's still applicable today. It's not just kind of ancient history. It's still applicable.
Yes.
So that's the long story of it.
Quite a beautiful story. Your dedication to the Dhamma is very admirable.
Thank you.
You know, one thing. Yeah. Thank you for going through that. You know, and that determination. I guess in terms of the tradition, I'll just say, I mean, really what I said, you know, this tradition always spoke to me. And earlier there was a question about a different religion and Buddhism. I don't know even about other aspects of Buddhism. I don't know that much because this tradition has always spoken to me. It spoke to my heart, and that's what I've always followed. In terms of my criteria, I think sometimes people ask these questions because they're wondering, you know, ask yourself, if you're thinking about monastic life, think about what criteria is important to you. And because my criteria might be different from yours, I will say one of my criteria though is this a place that follows the Buddhist teachings? Is this a place, as I spoke about, that practices sila, that practices the teaching of the Buddha and dedicated to the Buddhist life? I'm messing with the cat.
The cat is
the cat's messing with the camera.
the cat is threatening the camera at this point.
He's testing our sila. So those are the things, you know, is this a place that follows the Buddhist teaching? And that was important to me. And, you know, it really is. And so I would say an important criteria to always ask yourself, is this a place where I can see myself being for an extended period? Because the training isn't, oh, I'll just get ordained and then I'm going to go over here and then I'm going to go over there. No, you're committing. It's a commitment. And so also ask yourself, you know, what criteria is important to you, and then search those places where you feel that, you know, and you feel that commitment. So that's what I would recommend for that. And, you know, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, the criteria too that really support the path to liberation of the heart.
Yes.
And that's why I'm so intent on, is this really true to the Buddhist teaching? Is this really, you know, as far as different traditions are concerned?
Right.
Yeah. So.
And you might find somebody that wants something different, you know, and that's them, you know. So everybody's different. Find the one that speaks to your heart, if one is inclined to speak. But I would say it is most important, the one that follows the Buddhist teaching and allows you to grow in the Dhamma.
So thank you, Karuna.
Yes, thank you, Karuna. And come here and cuddle the cat.
Yeah, we need a cat.
Monastic cat cuddler.
Yeah, we need a cat.
We have Wiggins and Shelley here who are doing a great job of cuddling.
Yeah, it takes 2 people. Yeah, to entertain the cat. He's dismantling the live stream.
That's it. His criteria is 2 people to keep him entertained. He's been causing trouble all day. We've been teasing.
Let's see. Should we go to?
Yeah, I think this is the next question.
There's another one about non-self.
Yeah.
But maybe just they're asking about the self evolving. So It's not, I think what's evolving is that we're abandoning, and just don't think about itself, but just think about abandoning what's unwholesome and developing what's wholesome. And what the self, part of the abandoning the unwholesome is abandoning the concept of self. So I'm just laughing because of this. There's these ironies that I just. So this is the next question.
Yes, that is the next one.
What would you suggest for a sort of daily routine in regards to Dhamma practice for a layperson? Oh, so it depends on how much time you have. But I would recommend at least meditating, sitting meditation, 15 minutes twice a day, doing daily meditation. Find the time. If you can sit for a longer period of time, that's good. And then every opportunity you have, be mindful, which is all day long. So if you can try to maintain mindfulness of all your activities throughout the day, you're really covered. But one thing is, like when you're walking from one point to the next point, really bring your awareness to walking, if you can, as much as you can. Daily routine, so I would say, set a time that's convenient during the day, usually before you're having your breakfast, before opening up your devices, before even having a conversation with somebody. It's hard to know if you're living with others, what your relationship, if you're a parent, if you're, whatever, if you're involved with some kind of relationship. But if you can set aside a time before you get involved in other activities to meditate, that's really good. And I think some amount of Dhamma study is good. And there's a lot available also online as far as teaching. So you can incorporate that into your daily schedule. It depends on how much time you have. That's really, that would be the bare bones to set up a really regular time. And then if you have a weekend or you have days off, any days off, schedule. I would, if you can meditate with others, that's really a good support for you. Like finding something locally where you can share in a Dhamma practice. So having that, like that would be like maybe part of your weekly or monthly or something to be practicing with others. But the daily routine, there's just this kind of bare bones minimum of at least 15 minutes a day in sitting meditation. And then, if you walk, if you have a walking routine that you do as exercise, see if it can be a walking meditation. Just be creative to see as much mindfulness you can bring into your daily life. That's what I would recommend. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Thank you. No, I think that's good. Your daily routine, it's really 24 hours a day. I mean, it's important meditation, find those spaces for meditation and find those opportunities. Sometimes people think it's just sitting on the cushion, and that's all I'm doing my practice, and I'm just sitting. The rest of the day is something else. It's throughout the whole day that you're practicing. You have those opportunities, as I was talking about, walking, driving, paying attention. Maybe when you're in your car, as a lay person, I would drive someplace. I was like, oh, there's an opportunity to listen to a Dhamma talk. And so I'd listen to a Dhamma talk, listening to chanting. We were just talking about that, doing that in the car, taking a few minutes even during the workday. I'm just going to take a few minutes for breathing and bringing my mind back to my body. Mindfulness of the body is a useful practice as we go out throughout our day. And so just finding those and creating a space for all those things and activities.
And I found that doing metta practice during driving actually was really helpful, because that would, people get anxious, they get angry, they get impatient when they're driving, and maybe we're cursing the other drivers for cutting us off or whatever. But if we're practicing loving kindness during our drive and just really directing it outward to all the other drivers and wishing them safety and wishing them happiness, and then we're paying attention to what's going on around us, and we're a happier driver.
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend for the drive.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities, throughout the day to practice the Buddha's teachings and metta. I was laughing because I thought my metta practice was going really well. And then I started getting stuck in traffic, and I was like, oh, my metta practice isn't as developed as I thought it was, because I could feel my mind. But then I had this opportunity. How do I spread metta to all these people that So look for those opportunities. We look at things that happen in our lives as inconveniences. Oh, why am I stuck in line? No, it's an opportunity to practice metta. We have all these practices to practice our sila. Sometimes people discount or they forget about the importance of sila. But throughout the day, we have all these opportunities to practice. We have all these opportunities throughout the day to practice kindness. And so we do that. It's not just on the cushion throughout the day. We practice the Buddha's teachings. And we should do that.
Thank you. That's a good addition. Okay. I think we could probably end now.
Yeah, there's no more questions.
Yeah, it's getting late.
It's getting late.
Okay. Somebody just popped in with a question.
As soon as you say it, we're like close. They're like, oh, I'm going to get this question.
Except suttas, what is your favorite book on Buddhism? My favorite book on Buddhism is the suttas.
It's a book about the suttas.
Let's see. On Buddhism itself, or the Buddhist teaching, or
yeah, that's so broad.
I'm just trying to think what would. Now I'm just so immersed in the suttas. It's all I'm reading. So, do you have
I would. Well, it's Sutta Bay. Everything for me is the Noble Eightfold Path by Bhikkhu Bodhi, which is Sutta Bay's short book. I think it's one of the most powerful books. I find it such a powerful book. And Bhikkhu Bodhi is such a scholar. Venerable Bodhi is such a scholar. I would highly recommend that. And I think you can download that book, The Noble Eightfold Path by Bhikkhu Bodhi. I think you can download it off the internet. Also, In the Buddha's Words by Bhikkhu Bodhi, which is about the sutras. So,
Yeah, it's hard. Now we're so immersed in the suttas. I'm like, let me think. It's something by Ajahn Brahm. It's really wonderful. There's mindfulness, bliss and beyond, if you want to learn about deeper meditative states. And I'm just trying to think, it's just like, what was I reading? Oh, it was another one by Ajahn Brahm. It was good. And I can remember the name of it. The Art of Disappearing. Okay, if you want to know about non-self, The Art of Disappearing by Ajahn Brahm.
There you go, Bill.
So that's what I'll recommend. If you except for, I don't know that it's my favorite, but it's actually what I've read recently that really made a good impression on me. It's a really excellent book. Yeah. So that's what I would say. The Art of Disappearing, Ajahn Brahm. Okay.
Very good.
And that he always refers to the suttas,
Right.
but
she can get
it's
away.
in his own words, in his own teaching, so his own experience. And then he draws in experiences of others too. He tells a lot of anecdotal stories that illustrate really wonderfully this whole concept of disappearing.
Very
Is that
nice.
what you want to do? Watch out. You get too deeply into the Buddha's teaching and are you going to disappear? Okay.
Well, it looks like no more questions. I do want to let everybody know. So tomorrow night, here, if you're local, Karuna, since you're local, we expect to see you this weekend. So tomorrow night, 6 to 7:30, Dhamma Talk meditation, and then Sunday is our program 1 to 4, Dhamma Talk meditation. Also at 11, there's a lunch offering. Is a great opportunity to meet other practitioners and engage with the community. And so we hope to see you all soon. And we will start the live streams again next week. And just so everybody knows, just towards the end of the month, we are very fortunate to have Bhante Sanata Vihari, who will be coming here. And then Ayasama and Bhante Sadasava and Aya Brahmavara will be here very shortly. And so you'll have an opportunity to see lots of different monastics giving different talks. And not just us, two more. So thank you all and have a great evening. Many blessings and much merit for you and your practice, and may you be happy and peaceful.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good meditation.